Yeah, I have a little bit of local history for you. I know that's what you came out for on a Sunday night. I'd like you to picture one thing just in advance of my little party piece tonight. I'd like you to picture Bristol in the year 1700. So, sort of on the precipice, on the knife edge between two unique moments in history. You've got the Puritanism of Oliver Cromwell on one side, he's just popped his clogs. Got the libertinism of the Georgian era on the other side. You're just sort of trapped in the middle. Shit, isn't it? Be honest with yourself, what you're picturing in your head, absolute dog shit, no vibes whatsoever, boring. In 1700 in Bristol, there was literally no method or means to watch Dragon Ball Z. No method by which you could observe the comings and goings of Goku and his many friends. There was no way of e-fering a pedestrian outside the chicken shop on Gloucester Road on an e-scooter. You couldn't even send a tweet to Dr. Jordan Peterson asking once again, will you please be my new dad? Pastimes in 1700 in Bristol, very thin on the ground. Let me see if I can work this. Nope. If there was a hound in your community, you could go out into the alley and watch it have a crap. You could indulge in the time-honoured pastime if you were a youngster of throwing sticks at old widows in the streets, much beloved. You could have a fatal stroke in the pulpit while you're delivering your Sunday sermon and look up to see the true face of God. Or, in a pinch, you could go and see Benedict Leonard Calvert being born. Now, the story I have to tell is of one particular August day in 1700, a day like no other and a wedding party that nobody who saw it would ever forget. A little bit of context, the English Civil War, 60 years previous, Bristol was under siege from Oliver Cromwell's new model army. Defence was mounted on the royalist side by Prince Rupert, the King's nephew, and his King Charles Cavaliers. Now, he knew his days in Bristol were numbered. His money was no good anymore at Slicks. He had to get the hell out of there. They put up a journeyman defence of the city, but in the end, they were sent to the dog pounds. And I tell you this with a view to telling you about Colonel John Pugsley, a casualty on the royalist side. Now, he fell and was buried with full military honours in the area of Bristol now called Fremantle Square, at the top of Nine Tree Hill. His head is thought to have come to rest a bit nearer to where Turbo Island is. I tell you about Colonel John with a view to telling you about his wife. He got married the day before his sad end, so a short marriage to his sweetheart. This is a woman who wore black and widow's weeds for the rest of her life. She never let another man into her heart. She became known to all and sundry as she moved into her dotage as Gamma or Grandma Pugsley. Ah, look at that. Now, trying to fill your days as a widow in the year 1700, difficult as we've covered, she became the custodian of a holy well at the top of Nugent's Hill. Now, in the old days, if you got a disease of the digestive tract, or if you had a scrofulous complaint, you didn't go to the GP, you went to the holy well. And this holy well was supposedly very good, particularly dealing with conditions of the eye. A bit too good at times. There was one recorded instance of a gentleman taking of the water of the spring and seeing so well at the aftermath, he could actually see several hundred years through time. And the unfortunate thing, ladies and gentlemen, the window was like right over someone's iPhone as they were watching a TikTok where someone was preparing a Dorito cheesecake in an air fryer. He suffered a fatal coronary on the spot and dropped dead. Very sad. All things come to an end, and so too did Gamma Pugsley's stewardship of the Holy Well. She left a very specific and very peculiar set of instructions for her funeral rites, namely that they not be carried out. Indeed, she wanted the day to be undergone as if it was a celebration, because after all, she was seeing once again the husband she hadn't seen in so many years. She was rejoining him on the other side. So she requested that the bells of St. Nicholas Church ring unmuffled, as if for a wedding party, and that her corpse should be put into a wedding dress, her own wedding dress. and not put in a coffin, but put on a sort of funeral bier and carted through the streets of the city. Now, this became a subject of some local interest, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Local roister-doisterers came to get involved. The merry piper, one Mr. Jethro Tull, the fearsome flautist, played a few songs at the outset of the funeral procession. He got his start in English folk, but found a lot more commercial success with his fusions of blues and psychedelic rock. There are only 3 people in this auditorium who are going to get anything out of that bit, but they'll have enjoyed it. They'll have enjoyed it enough for all of you. The fiddler, Treves Montcarrion, dare I say the rag and bone man of his time, performed wedding disco standards. God's wounds, I feel like a woman. Maiden, thine sex is on fire. And of course, Bardia, say if you remember, Bardia, japering and capering in September. Children flew flowers and garlands. They threw exotic herbs and spices. To be fair, in those days it was just salt and pepper. This in tribute to someone who was always a friend to the youth of the city. And the flies, of course. The flies were out in force. It was a hot August day. The corpse had been freshly seasoned. They were in there getting involved, getting amongst it, getting in the folds of that wedding dress. Ladies and gentlemen, I can only report the facts as they happened. I'm here in your service in that capacity tonight. No pictorial records actually existed of this event before my close personal friend, Doctor Who, arranged for me to have these photographs. So thank you to that man. What do we take from the story of Gamma Pugsley? Are we happy that she finally rejoined the man that she loved so dearly? Or in this more secular age, are we sad that she spent that amount of time just pining away for a dead man? Well, I think it's a secret third thing. That's a third thing that's different from the other 2 things that I said just then. Sort of high-roading both perspectives, but not really settling into its own groove. It's beyond the remit of this paper, is what I think I'm trying to say. If you've got a glass in your hand, I'd like to raise one final wedding toast to Gamma Pugsley. I'll leave you with the words that were inscribed above her holy well after the occasion of her passing. To eternal connubial affection. Cheers. Cheers.